Have you ever said something in anger you later regretted? Or felt completely overwhelmed by fear, envy, or frustration? That's not weakness, it's humanity. But the Stoics believed that while we can't control what happens around us, we can control how we respond. And that makes all the difference. In the words of Epictetus, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This video is your guide to reclaiming your power, because when you don't control your emotions, they will control you, pushing you into impulsive decisions, ruined relationships, and a restless mind. The strongest person isn't the loudest in the room, it's the one who stays calm when chaos erupts. Welcome to the Stoic Voice, where we learn how to think clearly, live wisely, and feel deeply without being ruled by those feelings. Understand your emotions before you can control your emotions. You have to understand what they truly are. The Stoics taught that emotions are not random storms that sweep us away, they are the results of our judgments. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." In other words, it's not the event that disturbs us, but the meaning we attach to it. Think about it. Two people can experience the same situation, say, losing a job. One falls into despair. The other sees it as a fresh start. The difference isn't the event, it's the interpretation. According to Epictetus, emotions like anger, fear, and envy are rooted in mistaken beliefs. If you believe someone must treat you a certain way to respect you, you'll be outraged when they don't. If you believe that failure defines you, you'll fear it more than death. But once you see that these beliefs are choices, not truths, your emotions lose their grip on you. This is the first key to emotional mastery. Emotions come from thoughts, and thoughts can be questioned. When anger rises, ask, what story am I telling myself right now? When fear paralyzes you, ask, is this real or just imagined? By stepping back and analyzing the judgment behind the emotion, you weaken its power. Marcus Aurelius, writing in his journal as Roman emperor, reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This chapter is not about denying emotions, but decoding them, tracing them back to their roots, and deciding whether those roots are worth holding on to. The more clearly you understand your emotions, the less control they will have over you. Pause before you react. In a world that rewards speed and instant replies, the Stoic thrives by doing the opposite. Pausing. Reacting is instinct, responding is discipline. And the thin line between the two is a moment of silence. The Stoics believed that the space between stimulus and response is where freedom lives. When something upsets you, someone insults you, cuts you off in traffic, or challenges your authority, your first impulse is often the wrong one, but that moment, that breath before you lash out, is where your power lies. Marcus Aurelius wrote, when you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and ask what fault of yours most resembles it. Instead of reacting, he reflected. Instead of blaming, he questioned. Modern psychology now confirms what Stoics knew centuries ago. Emotional regulation begins with slowing down. By pausing, even for a few seconds, you allow your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, to engage, instead of letting your emotions hijack you. Here's how to practice the Stoic pause. Notice the trigger. Become aware of the heat rising within you. Breathe deeply. A slow, conscious breath can interrupt the emotional surge. Question the impulse. Ask, is this reaction helpful? Is this who I want to be? Respond with reason. Choose the calm, courageous, or silent path instead. This pause is not weakness. It's not repression. It is control, the hallmark of true strength. Seneca once said, no man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. Your adversity may come in the form of a rude comment, a betrayal, or a personal loss, but how you respond is the ultimate test. Remember, a single pause can save a friendship, a marriage, a courier or your peace of mind. Detach and observe. Imagine your emotions as waves crashing on the shore. Most people dive into the water and get pulled under. The Stoic, he stands back and watches the tide. This is the power of detachment. Stoicism teaches us to observe our emotions without identifying with them. You are not your anger. You are not your fear. You are the one watching these emotions rise and fall. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." That's not denial, it's clarity. It's the realization that emotions are passing mental impressions, not permanent truths. When we react emotionally, we lose perspective. But when we step back, we gain power. Think of yourself as a wise inner observer, calmly noting what's happening inside without judgment. Here's how to detach and observe. Label the emotion. This is irritation. This is envy. Naming it creates distance. Watch it without judgment. Let it rise. Let it fall. Don't fight or feed it. Return to the present moment. Anchor yourself with your breath, body, or surroundings. Seneca said, "He who suffers before it is necessary, suffers more than is necessary." Detachment lets you see that most suffering comes not from the situation itself, but from the storm we create around it. The modern world calls this mindfulness. The Stoics simply called it wisdom. By observing instead of absorbing, you create space. In that space, you find peace, clarity, and the ability to choose your response rather than being ruled by reaction. You are not the wave. You are the shore, still, grounded, and unmoved. Master the art of reflection. True emotional control doesn't begin in the moment of crisis. It begins before and after. That's where reflection becomes your most powerful ally. The Stoics were not reactive people, they were reflective people. Every day, they carved out time to look within. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, filled pages with personal reflections, never intended for anyone else to see. Why? Because he knew that self-examination is the path to self-mastery. He wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Reflection helps you understand what triggered your emotions. Why did you react the way you did? What values did you abandon or uphold? Without reflection, emotions become patterns. With it, they become lessons. Here are practical ways to master the art of reflection. Journaling. At the end of the day, write down moments where you lost control or handled emotions well. What thoughts fueled those reactions? Evening questions. Ask yourself, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? What can I do better? Or play without judgment. Mentally walk through emotional situations like a director reviewing a scene. You're not there to criticize, just to understand. Anchored to your Stoic values, did you act with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control? If not, how can you do better next time? Seneca encouraged nightly introspection. He said, "When the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day and go back over what I've done and said." Reflection makes your emotions your teacher, not your master. It's not about being perfect, it's about becoming more aware. The more often you reflect, the more quickly you'll catch yourself before emotions control your words, actions, and thoughts. Control begins with clarity, and clarity begins with reflection. Use reason as your shield when emotions try to storm the gates of your mind. Reason is your shield, not brute strength, not denial, but calm, deliberate thought. The Stoics believed that rationality is our highest faculty, the very thing that separates us from the chaos of emotional impulsiveness. When anger burns or fear tightens its grip, it's reason that reminds us, this too shall pass, and I still get to choose who I want to be. Epictetus said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about realizing your power. No one can make you feel anything without your permission, not truly. So, how do you use reason to deflect emotional overreaction? Ask clarifying questions. Is this really as bad as it feels? What's the worst-case scenario? What's under my control right now? Zoom out. Will this matter in a week, a month, a year? Most of what upsets us today fades quickly in the grand scheme of life. Challenge the story. What narrative am I telling myself about this event or person? Is it grounded in truth or just my emotion-laced assumption? Return to virtue. What would a wise, just, courageous person do in this moment? Act from character, not chaos. Reason doesn't erase emotion, but it puts it in context. Like a lighthouse in a storm, it doesn't stop the waves, it keeps you from crashing on the rocks. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself, if it's endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining. That's reason talking to emotion gently, firmly, and effectively. And when your emotions try to seize the throne of your mind, remember, you are not a slave to feeling, you are a student of truth. And reason is your teacher, your guide, and your armor. Emotional resilience through adversity. Adversity is the testing ground of emotional control. Anyone can seem calm when life is easy, but when you're insulted, betrayed, abandoned, or faced with loss, that's when your emotions truly reveal their strength or their weakness. The Stoics didn't avoid hardship. They welcomed it as training. Seneca wrote, "Fire tests gold, suffering tests brave men." Emotional resilience is the ability to remain centered when the world around you falls apart. And it doesn't come from suppressing emotion, but from understanding its limits. It means saying, this is painful, yes, but it is not the end of me. How do you build this resilience? Accept the event, challenge the reaction. The Stoics reminded themselves, it is what it is, but how you respond, that's your domain. Anticipate adversity. Practice premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Imagine difficulties before they arrive, so you're not emotionally shocked when they do. Embrace hardship as training. See every trial as a test of your inner strength. Every emotional challenge is a chance to grow calmer, wiser, stronger. Focus on inner character. The world can take your comfort, your wealth, even your relationships, but it cannot take your virtue unless you give it away. Marcus Aurelius, burdened with the pressures of empire, war, and personal loss, still wrote, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of its hand. This you have the power to revoke at any moment. Resilience doesn't mean you feel nothing. It means you're not broken by what you feel. It means fear may knock at your door, but it won't be allowed to live there. The more adversity you endure with grace, the more unshakable you become. Control your emotions not by resisting life's storms, but by learning how to stand tall through them. Practice voluntary discomfort. To truly control your emotions, you must learn to train them before the storm hits, and the Stoics had a powerful method for doing this: voluntary discomfort. Seneca famously practiced poverty even though he was wealthy. Marcus Aurelius slept on the floor despite being emperor. Why? Because comfort breeds dependence, and dependence weakens the soul. They knew that the more you cling to ease, the more fragile your emotions become. But when you willingly expose yourself to controlled hardship, you toughen your mind and train your emotions to remain steady. Seneca wrote, set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself, is this the condition I feared? This practice rewires your emotional response. When you face discomfort by choice, you weaken fear's grip. You reduce your sensitivity to stress. You prove to yourself that you can endure more than you imagined. Here's how to apply this. Fast occasionally, not just for health, but to teach your body and mind not to panic in lack. Take cold showers. Condition your mind to handle discomfort with calm. Sleep on the floor or without a pillow. Break your dependence on luxury. Go without unnecessary technology or entertainment. Train your mind to sit with stillness and craving without acting on it. Say no to something easy. just to prove that you can. The goal is not self-punishment. It's emotional hardening. You're preparing for life's inevitable difficulties by making yourself more resilient today. When real adversity comes, it won't shock you, it will meet a mind already trained in fire. In the words of Epictetus, difficulties show a person's character, so when trouble comes, think of it as a test. Through voluntary discomfort, you become not only calm but courageous. Surround yourself with calm. Even the strongest mind can be shaken by a stormy environment. The Stoics understood that your surroundings shape your emotional state often more than you realize. If you spend your time with angry, anxious, or reactive people, their energy will slowly become yours. If your environment is loud, chaotic, and overstimulating, your mind will mirror that chaos. Seneca warned, "We must be careful with whom we associate. Our habits are influenced by the company we keep." This doesn't mean isolating yourself from the world. It means being intentional about what and who you let into your emotional space. Here's how to surround yourself with calm. Choose your influences wisely. Spend time with people who demonstrate patience, discipline, and emotional balance. Avoid those who fuel drama or constant outrage. Curate your digital environment. Limit exposure to angry news cycles, social media arguments, or toxic content. What you scroll becomes what you absorb. Create a physical space of peace. Keep your room, desk, or workspace uncluttered. Add calming elements, plants, natural light, silence. Seek solitude regularly, not loneliness, but chosen stillness. Seneca called it retreating into yourself. Embrace nature. A walk in the woods or sitting under the open sky can do more for your emotions than hours of talking. The mind is like water, it reflects whatever surrounds it. If your environment is turbulent, expect emotional ripples. But if your surroundings are still and centered, your inner world can become the same. Marcus Aurelius found peace in writing his meditations, even while commanding armies. Why? Because he created internal calm, regardless of the external storm. And part of that calm came from carefully choosing what entered his world: people, thoughts, places, and practices. Remember, you don't just protect your mind with discipline. You protect it with environment.